I wanted to welcome you, Dan, to today's executive chat, and thank you for doing this, because I know that you're busy and you've got a lot on your plate, and I really appreciate it. Since you're going to be the president of St. Patrick's, the first question is about your philosophy of leadership.
Thanks, George. No, my philosophy in leadership, I'm someone that leads by example, right? I feel like that's super important. I want to empower those around me, and everything I've done in my life, whether it was from, playing football at Notre Dame, onto the NFL, and then back at the university now for the last 10 years, I always felt like those who perform well feel empowered by their supervisor, which I think is very important, right? I always want to give them the tools and assets to make them the best they can be. So that's something that I'm going to, bring to St. Patrick, and something I truly believe in. I feel, I'm someone that believes in humility, in everything I do. And I think that is something that's going to be shown throughout the team as they get to know me when I start my role there. I believe in family being very important and being able to separate that work from home environment. How when you're at work, let's work hard, but also understand that there's personal obligations and family life that's very important. So kind of all those things. And then obviously trust. I mean, I believe, building trust with your staff is super important. Having those transparent conversations, letting them know where they stand, letting them, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and how we can get better. Are all kind of things that I want to bring forward with me as I start my role at St. Patrick's.
Was your decision to play professional football? I mean, obviously, coming out of St. Patrick's, the opportunity at Notre Dame had to have been a dream. How about the decision to go into the NFL? What weighed on that?
Yeah, George, it's a great question. When you get to Notre Dame and you begin, kind of like you said, the first goal was to play college football, which I saw as an opportunity kind of my junior year in high school, where I'm like, wow, I really got a chance. And I kind of went all in, where I stopped playing baseball and basketball, got to Notre Dame. And then the same thing, when you get here, it's, hey, I want to start. I want to be a starter for Notre Dame. And, back when I was playing, it took a few years for a lot of guys, especially if you were an offensive lineman and had to put on some weight or strength. And so I started my junior year and then my senior and fifth year. And, when I saw that there was an opportunity to play on the NFL, I loved the game that much. It put a lot of time and work and effort, to kind of try to my best to get to that level, right? To live out that childhood dream. So when I had the opportunity, it was kind of a no brainer. Although I was a marketing major and did well in school and would have had opportunities right out of school to get a good job. There's that time window with football where if you don't give it your shot now, I didn't ever want to look back and say, wow, I wish I would have gave that a shot, and I still loved it at the time. So, I mean, it was a pretty easy decision for me. One that, if I can get drafted or get a shot in the NFL, I want to give it my best, and then we'll kind of go from there. And that's exactly what I did. So I went there drafted by the Bengals in the 7th round, and, didn't get a chance to play much, had a few injuries. And that's when I kind of made my mind after we had our second child that, the football thing was a great run, and it's provided me, some stability, along with, I've learned so much, as a player of the game, and also it's kind of built the character in me as a person, and I was ready to kind of move on.
What brought you to Notre Dame, back to Notre Dame? Did they reach out to you?
So George, when I was done, when I went back home, I spent my last year at Carolina Panthers on the practice squad. And like any other business, the NFL is, what have you done for me lately type of business, right? Where they're always they're always looking for your replacement, which I totally understand. And I went home and told my wife, I said, I'm done with football, ready to make the next move. So we talked through, what that looked like. And I said, I met my wife in Notre Dame. We had 2 children at the time. And I said, I'd love to go back and try to work for the university. And Meredith was totally on board with that. And we basically moved here without a job, George. I moved here. I rented one of my teammates' parents' homes here in South Bend. And I went back to the school and just networked. And I said, I'm going to give this 3 months. I'm going to try to land a job here. And if it doesn't work out, we'll go back to Chicago and I'll get into some kind of business or professional world. And, went out every day, obviously started in athletics with some of the folks I knew, met other leadership at the university, and I started as an intern for game day operations. And George, that was obviously a humbling experience, right? You go from an NFL, whether it's an injury reserve salary or active roster salary, to being an intern at Notre Dame. But I was just grateful for the opportunity, and that I had benefits for my kids, and just wanted to get started any way I can. So that's how I started my journey here. So as a player, you think 80,000 fans just show up and you go and you play football, but obviously I learned very quickly how every department on campus is involved in making that happen. So it was a great place, George, for me to begin my career, because I was able to work with leadership from student activities, Lunani and development, basically every department on campus, Dolly Duffy and our alumni association, and was able to just, show them that I'm someone that believes in our mission. I'm a hard worker. And that's when, after 2 years, Lunani came over and said, "Hey, I'd love for you to come over to development." And that's when I explored this opportunity, and have been here the last 10 years.
Say again who that was that brought you over there.
Yeah. So Mike Seaman brought me back, which I always thank him every time I see him. He's the one that gave me my first opportunity in game day operations.
Yeah.
And then Lou Nani, our associate vice president in development, he brought me back over to, he brought me into development.
What were the things that you found yourself working on? No matter how old we are, how young we are, I think one of the things that I've learned about life is that you should always try to improve in some way, shape, or form. So as you did a kind of a self-analysis of Dan Santucci and what he brings to the table, what were the things that you worked on?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you leave the NFL, you miss that, 3 or 4 years of the, intro to the working world. So I obviously, when I came back to Notre Dame, something I've always prided myself on is, like I said, working hard, being a good listener, being coachable. So I kind of took a lot of those intangibles that I learned from being an athlete over to the working world, and then kind of grew in my career. So just, like I said, just being able to learn, be coachable, and then lead by example. And I'm kind of from the old philosophy that if you work hard and you do things the right way, opportunities will come your way. And that's what happened for me. I never really applied for a position here, George. It was something where, hey, would you come over, and we think you'd be good at development. And when I got into development, although I had no sales experience, which some think you need, I had a story, and I feel like I'm very good with people, and I love building relationships. So I obviously worked on that skill set as I went out to New York City for 8 years and met with parents and alumni and benefactors of Notre Dame, which was a phenomenal experience for me. I mean, to go out to Manhattan and run around the streets, Wall Street, and the folks I met, I learned so much about life, and just met some unbelievable, generous, humble people that wanted to give back to Notre Dame in a big way.
And did you live in the city?
No, so I lived in South Bend. So all of our, we like for our regional directors to be stationed in South Bend. So we have a connection to the school.
Right.
We can meet with the deans and do different,
Right.
Follow up. But so I would travel about every other week from Tuesday to Friday. I'd just take a flight out to New York City.
You in the New York territory or Manhattan? Just Manhattan?
Yeah, New York City. I mean, mainly Manhattan. I would go out to parts of Connecticut and a little bit of New Jersey, but honestly, most of my meetings were done right in Manhattan, because I met him, at work, office visits, coffees, lunches, things like that.
And what did you learn about the people that you met with that obviously either were directly or indirectly connected with Notre Dame because of the whole concept of the subway alumni? The people in New York that just love Notre Dame.
Yeah, I enjoyed New York a lot. Being born and raised in Chicago, I felt like we were able to relate. Very, for lack of a better term, transparent, direct people, right? That which made my job easy, because when you're leaving your family and you want to go out and have a successful trip, it's great to figure out, you got to build that relationship, but it's nice to know where people stand. And I felt like most of the New York folks would let hey, I could be helpful now, or it might be a year. Kind of gave you that timeline, which was great as you made your plan throughout the year. But also, I was able just to be very straightforward on what our needs were at Notre Dame, and a lot of them just wanted to help. we talk about philanthropy and connecting the dots and hitting the heart. And obviously, if you're able to connect their passions with the university, as far as fundraising, it makes the next step easy and the amount only grows, right, with the impact. So that was something I tried to do. But a lot of the New York, my New York benefactors, they wanted just to help. They were, hey, we trust the leadership, we trust the mission. Our son or daughter, if it was a parent, they're having a great experience there. How can we help you? What is the number one need at Notre Dame where we feel like our dollars are going to a great need or area for the school? So it made, like I said, it was a great experience. I love the people. I love the fast pace of life out there. But yeah, I learned a lot too, just kind of thinking on your feet, and navigating yourself through the city and just hearing the stories of how these folks had how they became so successful, right? Taking risk, working hard, but still grounded, in their roots and wanting to give back, which I thought was great.
So Dan, you were there for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what if you had not been recruited to come back and be the president at St. Pat's, you think you would have stayed there?
Yeah. So George, I honestly, we bought a home here 4 years ago so going into we were here 5 years. We had our fifth child and we needed, I thought I bought my last home, George. I thought I'd be at Notre Dame forever to make that, I just became senior director. So I was in New York City for 8 years, almost 9 years or 8 years. And then the last year during this pandemic, I became the senior director of our central region. So I manage a team of 8 regional directors here locally, Indianapolis, Detroit, Ohio, Kentucky, and Pittsburgh.
Right.
And I manage a team of 8, and it's been a great role. But no, I never thought I would leave Notre Dame because, George, I love this place as well. Just like I love St. Pat's. It means so much to me. It's a great place to raise a family. I believe in the mission, my colleagues and friends, great people out here. And I had I feel like I was on a good path to keep moving up. But when St. Pat's called, when Dr. Joe Schmidt called and a couple of the board members that I talked to about this opportunity, and when everything was able to kind of line up where I was going to be able to move my family of 7, including myself to Chicago, and it would work financially. And I just said, this is a calling. Like, this is something that I need to go back and do. This is my way of giving back at a place that built me, built that foundation of who I am today. And I'm just so grateful and excited to go back and kind of continue on with the great tradition of St. Pat's.
Your wife's name is Meredith, right?
Correct.
Now was she supportive?
Like myself, she sees the bigger picture, right? She sees this opportunity to go be a president and lead a school that I care so much about. We both love the all boys model that St. Pat's still has today. And it'd be great to keep that going, the LaSalle mission. So, it was also the point, my oldest son is 12 and we have all the way down to 3. He's going to be in 7th grade next year. And again, timing, right? If he was in high school, George, I don't know if I would have been able to pursue this option, right? To pull him out.
Right.
That would have been really hard for me to do. So, but given the timing of where we're at in our family, we both saw this as a great opportunity to not only advance my career, advance St. Pat's, but a way to give back, because I'm so grateful for, what St. Pat's has done for me.
One of the things that I think you have, as I look at your career, and what you're going to need to do at St. Pat's, I think the development piece is so important, and I think that's going to really speak volumes for the school and for its future. What have you set forth any short-term goals or medium-term goals for your first year?
Yeah, being part of this strategic planning and just kind of thinking through right now, what are the greatest concerns at St. Pat's, or what do we need right now? I definitely think I will be, deeply involved in, like you said, institutional advancement and admissions, right? And kind of being the face of the school and going out and meeting the different parents and the great schools and building those relationships and offering them, telling them about our vision at St. Pat's and where we want this to go and talking about our great tradition. So I feel like, although I haven't put down, metrics yet, but that is definitely where I see myself spending the majority of my time while evaluating my staff and getting to know them, leadership, watching them perform on a daily basis. But for me right now, admissions, I want to keep increasing that enrollment. I want, the more boys in the seats, the better, and make sure we get the right kids to help build that culture. And then also just to go out there and raise money for, like I said, a school and mission I believe in, to make it more affordable for our kids to come to school and provide them opportunities so they can go out and do good for the world moving forward.
Our firm has had the great privilege of working with probably a dozen Christian Brothers schools around the country. Speaking about the strategic plan, because you've gotten your head in that game a bit.
Yeah.
And are you anticipating that process transitioning into some kind of a development effort, whether it be a capital campaign or a major gift effort? What's your sense of that at this point?
Yeah, I definitely think we want to take advantage of this plan. We kind of have a few different subcommittees, a value brand, where we're going to, make sure our mission and vision is aligned in what we're trying to do here going forward. We have an institutional advancement team. We have student life team. How can we make the student experience the best, that we can offer and hopefully separate us from some other schools. As far as the capital campaign, that was definitely an idea, but we just ended one actually here in the last year where we finally closed one out. So, I think we'll give that some time to kind of sit, but also I think we will do some kind of, fundraising initiative around our students and financial aid, infrastructure internally, how to make that student experience the best we can. But there's always going to be a need, George, as far as financial aid and teacher retention, increase some development money around that as well. So we can kind of keep some of these teachers that would love to stay in the Catholic school arena, but feel pressure to go off to public schools because of an increase in salary. So, I definitely have some ideas, and I think we're very fortunate to have a large benefactor base and alumni base being around for 160 years, and folks that want to help our school and see it go forward. So I think we've done a good job, and I think there's a lot of potential moving forward. So I'm excited about that opportunity.
How about the goals in the area of student recruitment? What do you see as the objectives there?
Yeah, so admissions and recruitment, it's going to be a huge priority for us. I mean, the Catholic schools in Chicago, the feeder schools are dwindling, unfortunately, right? A lot of shut their doors or have combined. So just the pure numbers have gone down. So we got to really have a presence out there in the public school systems, at the parks. And I think something that's important, George, is engaging these kids younger and younger. I think, fourth grade, fifth grade, we have to get them around St. Pat's. We have to get them at our camps or come in for a day, a student visit day, which we call shadow days. And, even if they're in sixth grade, have them come to our school, have them meet some of our coaches, our teachers, our staff members, and get them excited about hopefully what they see when they're there. And they keep talking about that. So, I think it starts in the results, right? I kind of believe in this. When we go back to leadership, people, culture, results, right? We hire the right people, or we have the right people in the building. We're going to build a great culture, and it's going to recreate its own results, and I think once that happens, we will organically, through word of mouth and folks being excited about our school and students, the word will spread and recruitment will come a little bit easier. But this first year, it's going to be boots on the ground. We're all in this together. I kind of already made that message loud and clear that, hey, we're all advocates of the school, and we all got to go out there and talk about the great things St. Pat's, what we are doing, what we plan to continue to do, and that it would be a great place for you to send your son.
Recruiting students at a high school level or university level, there's some similarities and some differences, but certainly you almost have to split or bifurcate the messaging, because there has to be one kind of message that goes to the children or the kids or the teenagers.
Yeah.
if you're recruiting for colleges, and a different message that goes to the parents.
Mhm.
But I certainly think in both cases, people will look at you and your story and they'll say, you know, that's the kind of son, you know, I would like to have, you know, and I think that that's really powerful. And I know you appear to be a very, you know, a very modest individual, but you have to think about that because people will look at you in that regard.
I appreciate that, George. And no, that's part. I mean, because like I tell everyone, I was, you know, when I went back to the school and talked to the kids, I said, you know, I was one of you. You know, I sat in these seats. I came from, you know, two parents. Neither of them went to college, but they believed in Catholic education and, you know, support. I'm one of four, and sent us from first grade all the way, you know, through high school and to Catholic schools. And like I said, for me to have the opportunity then to go on to Notre Dame and continue on, and now to be able to go give back and spread that message to these parents, right? And these kids, like I was sitting in these seats, you know, I was not the best athlete. I was a good student because I worked hard. I mean, that was it. I wasn't naturally smart. I had to grind away, and I did that both academically and athletically, and it paid off. So, you know, and that's kind of the environment I want to, you know, bring or, you know, continue on at St. Pat's is, hey, I want you to go in there with big goals, you know, and then if we get to your junior year and school, you think school's not for you and you want to go into a trade or you want to do something else, that's fine. We'll make that happen. But I want you to come in as a freshman and I want you to think big. I want you to think about what four-year university do you want to go to? You know, where do you want to make an impact? What, you know, and if I could have any, you know, insight or, you know, be able to help them make that happen, it's just going to be very rewarding. Yeah.
Hey, Dan, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with me today. This was a great conversation. I think people listening to it and hearing your story will be very inspiring to them.
No,
So,
thanks, George. And I was happy to do it. And just a shout out to Melpo. You know, I honestly have only been working with her, been part of these meetings for, you know, a month now or so, but have also reached out to her on the side and just for her advice and, you know, with other schools that she's worked with, and just a true professional that's provided a lot of insight, you know, to myself and to our team, and look forward to wrapping up this plan here and kind of moving forward with these great ideas. And,
yeah.
you know,
Well, thank you. I know she'll greatly appreciate those kind words. Let me just make an offer to you.
Yeah.
If there's ever anything that I can do, even if you want to just call me up and pick my brains about anything, feel free to do that.
Thank you so much, George. That means a lot. And I will definitely keep that in mind for sure.
Okay. All right. Pleasure
All right.
talking.
Take care. You too.